All right, in this video, we're going to look at solving trig equations by factoring. And what I mean by that is factor out a greatest common factor. We're going to deal with equations on the interval 0 to 2 pi. We're going to round to the nearest tenth of a radian. All right, so let's start with this one here. It says 9 sine of theta times tangent of theta equals tangent of theta. The wrong thing to do here is to divide both sides by tangent of theta. So I'm just going to note that you don't ever want to divide by variables when you're solving equations because you can lose answers. So first, to make the writing easier, I'm just going to write this as 9s t equals t, just to kind of abbreviate for now. We're going to minus t from both sides to get, so this becomes 9s t minus t equals 0, and then I can factor out a t from both sides, from both terms. So t times 9s minus 1 equals 0. So this tells me that t equals 0, and this tells me that s is equal to 1/9. Okay, so now we got to do the trigonometry. Let's start with t equals 0. So that's telling me that tangent of theta is equal to 0. The best way to think about tangent is that it's the slope of a line through the origin. It's a little bit of a sloppy line. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to draw a horizontal line through the origin. So I'm going to draw a line through the origin that has a slope of 0. So that looks like this. Okay, so the angle that gets me there is clearly theta equals 0 radians, and then the next one is theta equals pi radians. Okay, so those are my answers. So I didn't really need to use the calculator for that particular problem. So that implies that theta 1 is equal to 0 radians and theta 2 is equal to pi radians. Okay, the other set of answers is going to have to come from s equals 1/9. Remember, s was a stand-in for sine. This one we're going to need a calculator for. Again, when you're thinking about sine is the y-coordinate of a point on the unit circle. So I'm going to draw my unit circle. The y-coordinate equaling 1/9. That would be, this isn't a scale, but just so it gives me some room to write. Right, I'm going to pretend that's the line y equals 1/9. The angle we want is this one here. Okay, that angle there, that's going to be given to us when we do sine inverse. So theta 1 equals that angle. And then our second answer is going to come from the fact that this angle here, right, this angle there is our second answer. That is 180 degrees. We're in radians, I guess, so I got to use pi. Pi radians minus whatever we get when we do theta 1. And again, that's because this angle here is congruent to theta 1. So let's do that down below here. So we note that theta 1 is equal to sine inverse of 1/9. Theta 1 is equal to sine inverse of 1/9. We're rounding to, what do they say to round to? I believe it was tenths of a radian. Okay, that's not that accurate, but that's what they said. So let's do that. We make sure we're in radian mode, which I am. Okay, and then I do sine inverse of 1/9. 0.1. Okay, and then therefore theta 2 is equal to pi minus 0.1, which is about equal to, looks like we'd have to call that 3 exactly if we're rounding to tenths. There are my answers to that problem. Let's do one more problem here on the left. Okay, just to give us another example. So I note here that it says 3 sine theta times cosine of theta equals 8 cosine of theta. Again, don't divide by cosine of theta. You're going to lose answers. Instead, first, let's note that we're going to write this as 3sc equals 8c, and we subtract 8c from both sides. So then I get 3sc minus 8c equals 0. I can factor out a c. 3s minus 8 is equal to 0. So that tells me that c equals 0, and this tells me that s is equal to 8/3. So one thing I'm going to point out right away is that s equal to 8/3. Remember, this means that sine of theta is equal to 8/3. Okay, but sine of theta equaling 8/3 is not going to produce any answers because sine is the y-coordinate of a point on the unit circle, and that can only be between -1 and 1. So this is not going to produce answers again because sine of theta can only be between -1 and 1. This one will. Cosine of theta equals 0. Again, I'm going to go over here and draw my unit circle. Cosine is the x-coordinate of a point on the unit circle. So where is the x-coordinate equal to 0? Well, that is the y-axis, right? So this is the line x equals 0. So our answers are clearly that, which is pi over 2. We don't need a calculator. And then our other answer is that one, 3 pi over 2. So my other answers, I guess I should have called them 3 and 4. No, sorry, 1 and 2, because we don't have any other answers in this problem. Theta 1 is equal to pi over 2, and theta 2 is equal to 3 pi over 2. Okay, and so that is how you solve trig equations, by factoring out the greatest common factor. Good luck.